We got to move on. So we're in chapter 11, verses 1 to 15. Has God rejected Israel completely? I suppose that's our question. Tobias, verses 2 to 4 of chapter 11, Paul goes back to Elijah.
Yep.
How does Paul go back to people that God knew in the past to get hope for Israel in the present, thinking of Elijah's experience?
Yeah, the whole Elijah analogy is a brilliant analogy because, again, if you look at 1 Kings 19, when Elijah was prophesying, again, he was prophesying to a group or to a nation who had abandoned God. They had abandoned God for Baal worship. And here is Elijah. He is prophesying, and he just feels like he's all by himself. He feels like he's the only one doing God's work, and God has to tell him, like, no, these people may have abandoned me, but there are 7,000 others that I have reserved for myself. There is a remnant of believers. So what Paul is trying to do is he's trying to give people hope by saying God always has worked with a remnant. So it doesn't really matter if the nation has really, God still has his people. And that's why I think Paul is trying to do. He's trying to give them hope by showing and saying, like, I'm part of that remnant. Yeah. And you can be a part of that remnant as well. So I'm a Jew, but yet God has opened my eyes to see the wonderful promises of the scriptures being fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And so he's going back to Elijah to say, God didn't reject Elijah, and God didn't reject the 7,000 other prophets who he had reserved for himself. He has always had a remnant of people.
He's always had a remnant.
Yep.
Yeah. Joe, if I can sort of following on from that, as we look down verse 5 onwards, why did so many Israelites miss out on the gospel? Where did they go wrong?
Do you know what? In 2 Peter 3:16, it says, Paul's letters are hard to understand. And I really relate to Peter. I'm like, there's various things I relate to Peter on, and I relate to him on that.
Yeah.
I find it hard to understand. I'm going to be really honest. I know that, I mean, again, I'm going to take a little bit from Corinthians of like where we're called to believe the best. There's part of me that thinks, okay, they're so zealous, they're so into kind of monotheism that they think that anything outside of that is idolatry. So, you know, if I was going to believe the best, you know, I can see that going on.